The discussion is based on this book, as many of you know. It's called The Essentials of World Religions. It's a little ambitious in scope because it talks about all the major religions in the world, which includes the Abrahamic religions, which came from the Middle East, which is Judaism, Christianity and Islam. And the other major center of religion is India, which includes Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism and Sikhism. One or two like Zoroastrianism I have actually left out, but we can discuss it. Now we'll start with 2-3 questions based on the discussion we had with Vikram. One is that why do we need to study world religions? Second question is, what is religion itself? Because each one of us has our own views. And the third one is, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I would actually like to hear from you rather than propose from my side. So if we start from why do we need this book, I looked around and I did not find a similar book which summarizes all the great religions in a short way. There are thousands of books on religion. But the religious conflicts around the world bothers me and maybe bothers some of you. Down the centuries we've had conflicts, but now again it is hotting up. There is a war going on in Israel for the last 1 year. Even in India we hear about Manipur, and under the surface there is some tension around the world. I had gone to Europe many years ago and I was talking to a similar group of intellectuals. They say, they say privately after a few drinks that we are a Christian civilization and immigrants from other parts of the world are disturbing the civilization and we have to protect ourselves. So this kind of religious conflict is there. Now what is new in the 21st century is that, or even in the 20th century, periodic economic crisis, joblessness, etc. Is there. Right now, for example, in our country, whether it is right or wrong, the government is giving 5 kg of rice free to 80 crore people. Now, in times of crisis, the human tendency is to look for solace, look for security, look for some peace, and people turn to God and religion. Then we have this whole issue of religious violence and other types of strife. Again, people turn to religion. Since we work in the rural areas, we have this problem of climate change. Hundreds of millions of farmers in India or around the world are suffering because of climate change. Nobody is to be blamed, or maybe collectively we are to blame. But that stress leads to going back to religion. Then today I was looking at the numbers again just to verify what is there here. The migration in India itself is huge. I don't know about Hyderabad much, but Bangalore, Chennai, Kerala, which I travelled recently, people from North India are serving food in remote highways down south in Kerala. So if my broken Tamil I speak, नहीं सर हमको समझ में नहीं आता है तो मैं हिंदी बोलते हैं. So there are apparently, according to government statistics, 140 million migrants. According to some other statistics, it is 5 times that number. Worldwide, there are across countries 280 million or 281 million migrants, but within countries it is 780. So if you add up the numbers, about 1 billion people are migrating within countries and across countries. The population of the world in around 1700 was less than 1 billion. Now the migration, what it is causing is, it is bringing people in close contact with other cultures and civilizations. That is leading to further stress and anxiety. We hear even in India that Bangladeshis are coming, you know, it's a euphemism, and there is a lot of anxiety about all these things. To add to that, we have this is sometimes like a ticking bomb. And fake news and all kinds of news is floating around. That is also adding to stress. Each one of us are part of some WhatsApp group
And we say, "Arey, this fellow, he was my childhood friend, and what is he saying? What is he putting up there?" WhatsApp groups, childhood friends, families. I know husband and wife who cannot discuss either politics or religion because they are on opposite sides. So the division has gone beyond politics and religion. It has gone into families, into communities, and it has gone into our mind. I don't know if I'm wrong, you can challenge me when we have a discussion. So the seeds of conflicts have gone into our mind, and often it is based on religion. Then I read, this Arnold Toynbee, who is a great British historian who studied world history for 40 years apparently. He wrote 12 volumes of a study of history. He studied our Indus Valley civilization, Vedic civilization, Greek civilization, Inca civilization, Mesopotamian, Egyptian, Chinese. He studied all the world civilizations from the beginning till whatever, 1960s or whenever he died. And at the end he says that if we have to survive as a human race and not destroy ourselves in this atomic age, there is no other option but harmony of religions. That is the reason all of us need to know something about what religion is. That is the motivation for this book. Not that other books do not exist, but I could not find, so I was motivated enough to study them. Second question is, what is religion? Now here there is a lot of difference of opinion. So what we have taken a view in this book is not what I or you or scholars think about religion. What does the religion say about itself? Can we look at the religion from its own point of view? That is the first thing, because that is the best way of understanding, rather than from a scholarly or historical or some other perspective. What do the religions say about themselves? So that is the first perspective. And then when you start studying the religions, I have a passionate interest in this, so it took a lot of effort. You find that you have to go back to the sacred texts. So let me give you an example. If you say, take Christianity, simple example, there are so many churches, so many sects, so many divisions. Latin, Roman Catholic Church, on the other side you have the Greek Orthodox Church, then beyond Catholics you have Protestants. There are hundreds of churches. But one thing is common. Now what is a Christian religion? All of them agree on two things. One is that our founder is Jesus Christ, and that our most sacred text is the New Testament, particularly the four Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke and John. If you take Islam, of course the major sects are Sunni and Shia, and there are so many sects. There are Ahmadiyyas, there are Baha'is who now say we are not Muslims, and so many sects and subsects are there. And they have their own views and interpretations, but all of them agree on one thing, that the founder of our religion is the Prophet Muhammad, and our most holy book is the Quran, and the Quran contains not the words of the Prophet, but the words of Allah as revealed to Muhammad through the angel Gabriel. All of them agree on this, and so on. If you go to the Buddhism, they will say there are so many philosophies of Buddhism: Jain Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, Shunyavada, Madhyamaka, so many philosophies are there, but all of them agree on one thing: our founder is the Buddha. The last word is what the Buddha said. So like that all the religions say. So the essence of a religion goes back to the founders and the most sacred texts. So that's what the attempt in this book is, to go back to the most sacred texts. Just for the record, in Judaism, which is, I'm starting from the Middle East, the Torah, which they call the Old Testament, which is the 5 books of the Jews, originally in Hebrew. I do not know Hebrew. But what you do is you read the English translations, but read 3 or 4 of them, so that if they broadly agree, that is one thing. Then you come to Christianity, and Judaism, like Hinduism, doesn't have a founder. There are 48 prophets. They call it the Abrahamic religion because Abraham was the first prophet, but the most famous of them is Moses. You come to Christianity, straight away there is no confusion. Jesus Christ is the founder, and the New Testament, there is a list of canonized books, but again the words of Jesus are there in the Gospels. So you go back and read the Gospels. They are not very long to read. You come to Islam, as I've already mentioned, the most sacred book is the Quran. There is the Hadith, but Hadith is considered incidents and words of the Prophet, but not the words of Allah. The most sacred book, there is without doubt for Islam is Quran, because in their system, the Quran is not the words of any human being, it is the words of Allah. So Muhammad used to get what they call wahi or revelations, where the angel Gabriel used to reveal, Allah used to speak through the angel Gabriel to the Prophet, and the Prophet used to tell whoever was around and they used to note it down. That's how the Quran came, and so on. So when you come to Hinduism, since we are largely a Hindu country, if you ask a Hindu what is the essence of Hinduism, generally I've asked lots of people, we draw blank. They are not able to say. But what is widely accepted, if you go, I have had the privilege or misfortune of visiting mutts, monasteries, temples, scholars, sadhus, and read so many books, attended classes. They say there is the Prasthana Traya, which is the three foundations of Hinduism, which is the Vedas or the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutras, and of course the Bhagavad Gita. These are the three pillars of Hinduism. They don't say other texts are not sacred, but these are the three pillars. But there is no one founder. Now, so you go back and read those texts. Then you start asking, there are so many aspects to a religion. What is the essence of a religion? Now, all the religions without exception, even the agnostic religion like Buddhism, which does not talk about God, or a avowedly atheistic religion like Jainism. Jainism specifically says there is no God. All of them agree on one thing. You find that a revelation, some super sensuous, beyond the senses, some experience, some revelation. Even the Buddha, who doesn't talk about God, he got nirvana, he got enlightenment. So all the religions take their claim on revelation. So let me try to give you some examples of that. Those of you who are interested, you can read the book, and there are thousands of other books also. Moses saw a burning bush that was not burning. He heard a voice, Moses, Moses, here I am. That is Yahweh, God is speaking to him. And then God told him the 10 commandments, and whatever is there in the Torah is all what he heard from God. That's an example of a revelation. In Hinduism we call it mantra drashta or shruti, that which you hear in super conscious state. If you come to Hinduism, of course, full of revelations. I mean, you see the Upanishads, and I'll just quote one from the Upanishad. Vedahametam Purushamahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasap Parastat. So this is a revelation which is there in the Purusha Suktam in the Rig Veda. What it says is, I have seen that supreme light, Aditya Varnam, brilliant like the sun, Tamasap Parastat means beyond darkness. So he's talking about, the Rishi is talking about a revelation he got where he sees, and you read the Quran, Allah is the Nur, is the light of the world. It's literally in English they say Allah is the light of the world. So these revelations are there, and all religions claim that we have got revelations. Even Jainism, which is atheistic, they say you can get emancipation. They also use the word nirvana or enlightenment, and this is the way to get it. And you don't need to go to God, you can get enlightenment without God, because why do we need God? So revelation is the basis of all religions without exception. So first we go and study those revelations. That's what we have tried to do. Second aspect of a revelation, so revelation is beyond the mind, if you want to call it. In Telugu, not Telugu, in Sanskrit we call it samadhi. People go into samadhi and they get some inner experience and they tell us all these things. And recent example of somebody who regularly went into samadhi is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. The second example, aspect of a religion is what we call philosophy, Siddhantam. Every religion has a philosophy. The prophets were not philosophers. They were messengers of God, if you want to, whatever word, incarnation, messenger of God. They did not try to create a philosophy, they just spoke. This is what the truth is. Later on the scholars came, they applied their mind and they put philosophies and intellectual framework. So for example, if you come to Hinduism, you have Advaita, Vishishta Advaita, Advaita, and you have the Shad Darshanas, you have Sankhya, Vaisheshika, Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, etc. All these things are there. So these are all philosophies. All religions have philosophies. There is no religion without a philosophy. And those philosophies are considered slightly inferior to the revelation because they are of the mind. The human mind has tried to understand what it is and put it down. Then you have these mythological stories. There is no religion without mythology and stories. Hinduism perhaps the richest, but every religion has mythologies. The baby Krishna opened his mouth, Yashoda saw the whole universe there. On his little finger he raised the Govardhana hill. The Prophet Muhammad went on a winged horse from Makkah to Jerusalem. On the way he saw all the prophets. From Jerusalem he took him to the light of Allah, and he got some commandment from Allah, including the famous one that you must pray 5 times a day. All these things are stories, revelations, whatever you want to call it. Without exception, even Buddhism, which is so rationalistic, you read the Buddhist scriptures, the celestial beings came to talk to Buddha. And Buddha, of course, converted them and they paid homage to him and went away. Including Indra, the king of gods, he comes to the Buddha. So these stories and mythologies are there. We can debate why these are there, but nothing, even Jainism, which is atheistic, has these mythological stories. The Abrahamic religions, God created the world in 7 days and so on. So you have religion, you have philosophy, you have mythology. Then you have rituals. How should we pray? What dress we should wear? Should we shave our mustache or shave our beard? How should we pray? Should we turn in direction of Mecca? Or should we turn in the direction of Kashi? Should we keep a fast on Ramzan or should we keep a fast on Vaishkunta Ekadashi? What should we do? There are hundreds of rituals in all religions. And finally, the religion also has what we call practical teachings. Let me give you a simple example of a religion which has 3 practices. So the Sikhs say, Naam Japo, remember God's name. Kirat Karo means do your work honestly. And third, he says, Vant Chako, the fruit of your work, labor, share with everybody. The practical teaching. All the religions have practical teachings. Which religion other than Jainism and Buddhism say do not love God? All the theistic religions say love God. Which one say do not work? Even Krishna, who talks about detached work, very next sentence Krishna says, but do not be attached to inaction, because you cannot live without, you have to act. So Christianity, Protestant work ethic, everywhere work. And share your surplus with everybody. There is no religion which does not talk about it. Jainism talks about dhanam, Buddha talks about compassion and doing good. There are 33 references in the Quran to zakat, which is charity. In fact, it goes to the extent of saying that the poor have a right on your wealth. And Hinduism, of course, Atiti Devo Bhava and Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and so many things. And Jesus, of course, says, as I love you, love one another, as I serve you, serve one another. So serving each other and being charitable is there in all the religions. So the practical teachings are there. So when you look for the essence of a religion, this is the view we have taken, we can discuss it, that you will not find it in the rituals. Rituals help people, they are useful. They put you in a certain frame of mind, but that is not the essence of a religion. The mythological stories is not the essence of a religion. There are 2 aspects which are actually essence. One is the revelation itself, which we discuss in the book, and second is the practical teachings. What should I do when I get up in the morning? What should I do? So these practical teachings and the revelations are what is, in a sense, the essence of a religion. So that is what we try to discuss in this book. Now, I mean, you'll have to give me a warning on, because we can go on and on. Yeah. So this is where we are. Now a little bit about where do we go from here, I will come to a little later. But I think we need to discuss a little bit about what the religions say. I'll give you a very brief overview because it took me several years to write this book. So, I cannot describe everything that is there. So let us start with the Abrahamic religions. They are called the Abrahamic religions because the Prophet Abraham was the first prophet. And in Islam they call him Ibrahim, by the way. Ibrahim and Abraham are the same. And you will be surprised to know that he migrated from Baghdad, somewhere near Baghdad in Iraq, in those days, and walked all the way to Jerusalem. And he was named as Abram, and then he became Abraham because God told him that stop worshipping idols. And then he went to Egypt. There are many stories. His descendants were Moses. There are 48 prophets mentioned in the Torah. Torah is their most sacred book, and then there are the Psalms and the Ketuvim and other sacred books are there. So I will just mention two things which are common across religions, even in Judaism. One thing which is amazing, he says, is be still and know that I am God. If you read Patanjali Yoga Sutras, it says Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Means yoga or union with God. Yoga means literally union of the Atman with God, is through the control and by stilling the mind. And in the Old Testament he's saying be still and know that I am God. Basically still your mind. Then he says you are children of the Most High. You are gods. We say Amritasya Putra. In the Shvetashvara Upanishad, they says that you are the children of immortality, Amritasya Putra. The Old Testament is saying the same thing. It's saying that you are children of the Most High, you are gods. Then you come to Christianity. First thing you notice is they accept all the prophets of Judaism. So Jesus says, I have come to fulfill, I have not come to destroy. And he quotes quite frequently from the Old Testament, and Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he tells Arjuna in one place, "Oh Arjuna, these teachings which I am giving you, I gave to many ancient people. Same teaching I am giving you again." So he is talking about a continuity, and Arjuna of course asks him that those people were born long ago. How do you, of course we have a Hindu belief. He says, oh Arjuna, you and I passed through several lives. I know them all, you do not know them. In the same way, Jesus says that I am not negating the old religion, I am fulfilling it. Then of course so many things Jesus says, is one of my favorites by the way. He says, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So it's a method and a kind of a... So Vivekananda says, you can throw out everything, you just keep that. The manasu shuddhi cheskunte devudu kanabadtadu. Man ko saaf karne se Bhagavan dikhega. That's all he's saying. And so many things he says. Now, the same thing about the divinity being everywhere. Jesus says, when I was hungry, you fed me. When I was sick, you looked after me. When I was naked, you clothed me. So somebody asks him, when were you hungry? When it says in the Gospel of Matthew. If you take a spiritual perspective, what Jesus is so identified with entire life. Every being, so he says, when I am hungry, you fed me. So it's a commandment. So Krishna says, Jivanam Sarva Bhuteshu. I am the life principle in all beings. Because Krishna is identified with the life principle in all beings. Krishna says, Yo Mam Pashyanti Sarvancha, Sarvancha Mai Pashyati. He who sees me in all beings and all beings in me, he is my devotee. So that identification with the entire universe, with all living beings, same thing Jesus is saying. It's a kind of a revelatory statement. Then you come to Islam, the first thing you notice is, if you read the Quran, there is a whole chapter, they are called surahs, the whole chapter is about Mary. They call it Maria, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. It is about Mary, mother of Jesus. There is a whole chapter in the Quran on that. And first thing the Prophet says is, we make no distinction between the messengers of God. All the prophets that came before, they are accepted as prophets in Islam. Jesus is accepted as a prophet, and all the Abrahamic prophets, all of them are accepted as messengers of God in the Quran officially. It is written there in the Quran. The only difference may be that they may not agree that Jesus is the Son of God, but they accept that he is a messenger of God. There is very clearly. And they call it, you people of the book, Kitab. The word, maybe Kitab came from Arabic, I don't know Arabic. That means you people of the book. You know, we accept their religion. And then of course, so, you know, for example, one of the things which I heard from my own teacher is that Allah tells Muhammad, tell the people, I am nearer to you than the vein on your neck. That Allah is that close to you. Then Allah is, of course, there are three words. Allah is Rahman, He is Rahim, and He is Al-Wadud. He is full of love. In one place the Prophet says, not in the Quran but in the Hadith, he says that Allah has more love for you than the mother has for the child. So the very essence of God is love. So like that you see all these things. So now what is common about the Abrahamic religions is, one is that no idol worship and monotheism. We have to understand the social context, because Hinduism is the only religion which has got some 3 crore or 30 crore idols, and this is the only religion which officially and openly worships idols. But none of the other religions have idol worship. So if you read the history and whatever you can understand, before these religions came, there was what we call polytheism, which is different from pantheism. Just a minute on that. Polytheism is worship of stone idols. Pantheism is that God resides everywhere. That through and through, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam, you know, we say in the Isha Upanishad, that means God resides everywhere. That is pantheism. Everything is God. Inside, outside, beyond, below, everywhere God is there. But polytheism is just some kind of a totem worship. Now, because of this polytheism, what was happening in, there were several warring tribes at that time, both during the time of Prophet Muhammad and even earlier during the Judaism, which is 15 or 2000 years before Islam came. The tribes used to fight, they used to have wars, they would destroy the idols of other people, and these people in revenge later on say, you killed my God, I will go and destroy your gods, and you know, it was a bit of a mess. So they said, this is not going anywhere, so they said, please stop all this idol worship. So that is one thing which is common, and the idea of one God, monotheism. Second is, as I said, they all accept all the prophets. Another thing that we find in the Abrahamic religions is all of them without exception at the founding stage underwent huge persecution. The Jews were persecuted, they were enslaved in Egypt, Moses led them out of enslavement. For 40 years they were roaming around in the desert, they had to fight to get back to Israel, and the whole history, if you read the Torah, is full of strife and persecution. The Jews were persecuted. That is the origin. Later on, of course, they continued to be persecuted, and now they are persecuting other people. That's a separate issue. You come to Christianity, Jesus was of course crucified. Out of his 12 disciples, I think except one, all of them were either jailed, crucified or beheaded. His guru, if we call it in Hinduism, Guru, John the Baptist, was the one who baptized Jesus. He was beheaded in Jesus' lifetime. So the early Christians were highly persecuted. You come to Islam, the Prophet was protected by two people. One was his uncle, Abu Talib, who was more or less like his father, who was a well-to-do merchant in Mecca. And since he spoke against idol worship and he was talking about Allah, people did not like it. The established group in Mecca did not like it. There were plots to kill him, but he was protected. And then, of course, his wife at that time, Khadija, She was also a well-to-do person. She also died. Same year, both of them died. Then the knives came out and they first started persecuting those who had converted to Islam. Then they started going after the Prophet. So they actually, we don't know this. The Prophet left Mecca and went to Medina, which was called Yathrib. And the last 10 years of his life he lived there. So they were literally driven out of... so Islam also came through, I mean, they also suffered persecution in the early days. Now, so these are some common things about, we can have a discussion on it. Now, when you come to India, the situation changes. India was a little bit in those times relatively much more prosperous. The Abrahamic religions came up in a desert, not much agriculture, not much water, and difficult sort of day-to-day life, whereas India was, whatever, today we are in a mess, but back then it was a prosperous country. I mean, you can sleep under a tree, there is no big problem. But there it was not possible. So we started off by the fundamental inquiry about what is God, what is religion, what am I, what is this universe, is there a reality? All this is there in the Vedas and Upanishads. And when these Upanishadic revelations started coming out, when it started spreading, they found that people don't relate to it. If you say that, I'll give you one Upanishad shloka, which I like very much. It says, Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. Udhar na suraj hai, na chand hai. Na satra surya bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidityo kutoham agni, nor the lightning shines. What about this agni? There, whatever. And what does it say? Tameva bhantam sarvam idam bhavati. He is talking about that supreme reality, Brahman. By your light, all this is lighted up. Tasya bhasa sarvam idam bhavati. Now you go and tell the people at large. In those days, I don't know what was the level. Kya bol raha hai? What is this? So then we, to bring that message, I think, we had these Puranas, the Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, he created all these, and hundreds of stories came. We created more and more gods, and idol worship came. But the idols were deified. God resides in that idol, God resides everywhere. Kan kan mein. So it says, Isha Vasyam idam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat, means even in the least of things, God resides. So that was the Hindu concept. Our idol worship is different from there. Because there is a lot of misunderstanding and we can go on quarreling about it. Then what happened is that this Vedic religion got over-ritualized. When it got over-ritualized, even Krishna refers to it a little bit. In the Gita, just in passing, he says that those who worship and do the Vedic rituals, they will go to heaven. Heaven is inferior in Hinduism because then they will have to come back and be born again. But those who follow my teaching of Arjuna, they will reach me, they will get final liberation, they will get moksha. Some of you are nodding, so you know this. So he's already saying that there is an overemphasis on Vedic religion. You go another 500 years or whatever, I don't know the exact time, the Buddha came and he found it has completely become ritualized. So he said no. Animal sacrifice, rituals, the priests becoming gatekeepers of, you can go to God only through me, and he opened the doors to everybody and he said, I don't care what your religion, why do you worry about the Vedas? If you want to be happy, this is what it is. Buddhism is a very profound religion. He talks about the fourfold noble truths, etc., and that appealed to people. You will be surprised to know that Buddha, 543 BC, I think even up to the time of Islam, 600, maybe for 1,000 years, Buddhism was the biggest religion in the world. There were more Buddhist adherents in India. But then Buddhism also fell into decline because there was an overemphasis on worldly suffering and on sannyasi and renunciation. There were 20,000 monks. Now all of them are going to be in one monastery. There is going to be degradation because not everybody is fit to be a sannyasi. When the degradation came, the Brahmins came again and they started with their rituals. That is when Adi Shankara comes. The popular notion is that Adi Shankara came to destroy Buddhism. I'm sorry, I beg to differ. Adi Shankara came to re-establish the Upanishadic religion, which had fallen back into the ritual way. So there is this whole debate between him and Kumarila Bhatta. So he says that no, we have to go to the spiritual, not to the ritual. So he established that. So that is the waves that happened. And then around the time of the Buddha, the same, another reaction came from Mahavira and Jainism. So Jainism also said that no, this, and Jains are very strict about ahimsa. And the Vedic religion, we may not like to hear it, but it involved animal sacrifices in those days. Definitely. The Brahmins were doing animal sacrifices. You read the Ashwamedha Yagna, which Rama did, and before him or after him Yudhishthira did, horses were sacrificed. So the Jains said, no, we cannot accept all this. So that came very similar to Buddhism, but there is some fundamental differences. So that's how it came. Now you come to Sikhism, which was the latest religion. By the time Guru Nanak came, Islam had come to India. The Mughals came around the time of Guru Nanak, and the story goes like this. We have to take the story with the meaning rather than whether it is literally true. He disappeared for 3 days, and they think he's gone, he's been washed away by the river. Then he emerges from the river, and apparently the first thing he says is, there is no Hindu and there is no Muslim. Then people say, what is gone? Then they say, then the Qazi, who is the head of that, he calls him and says, what are you saying? You think there are no Muslims? We are following that. He says, no, I am a traveler towards God, and God is neither Hindu nor Muslim. The best statement I ever heard, I tell you. He says, I am going towards God, and God is neither Hindu nor Muslim. So I'll just read out one thing which I like from the Sikh religion, which will more or less bring me to the close of what I essentially wanted to say. Yeah. So in Sikhism, it is in Punjabi, which is, my Punjabi is not very good. I can speak reasonable Hindi, but I'll just read it out and then just translate it. This is from the Guru Granth Sahib, which is their sacred text. They have only one sacred text. He says, Kudrat Ved Puran Katiba, Kudrat Sarab Vichar. So Kudrat, he is talking about God here, not Kudrat as we say in regular language, which is nature. He is actually talking about God. Kudrat Ved Puran means the Vedas and the Puranas have come from God. Katiba also. Now Katiba is a word which we must understand, because the Prophet also uses that word. Kitab. Katiba refers to the books, the sacred texts of the books from the Middle East, which includes the Quran, the Bible, and the Old Testament. So he's saying, Kudrat se aaya, matlab from God has come the Vedas, the Puranas, and all the books, the book, religion of the books. Kudrat sab vichar. Vichar here means religion. Kudrat sarab vichar means all religions have come from God. Guru Nanak is saying that. This spirit we need to think about a little bit. So I just wanted to tell a story. You know, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa tells a story that many of us are quite aged and many of us have white hair. In the childhood you see that houses used to be single floor, and when the rain falls, they used to have a spout from which the water comes out. And sometimes they have a simha mukham, you know, they have a lion's face through which the water flows. And Ramakrishna says that the children playing on the road, they think the water is coming from the lion's mouth. But no, the water is coming from the sky. So whatever religion we believe in, whatever truths we believe in, we think it is coming through this prophet, this book, that simha mukham. No. It is coming from the same source. That's what Ramakrishna says. And he says the Hindus call it Jal, Muslims call it Pani, and the Christians call it water, but it's the same substance. And why he says it is not an intellectual statement? Because Ramakrishna was one of those persons who followed the sadhana of the Christians, he followed the sadhana of the Muslims, he followed, of course, the sadhana of the Hindus. Through all of them he got revelations. From that revelation he's saying that through that path you can come to the same goal, he's saying. So something that we have to think about. And there are 2-3 things. Since we are in India and I'm a Hindu, I have no problem with being a Hindu. I'll just close with 2-3 comments which are from our most ancient text, the Rig Veda. So one of the grand statements is Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. Literally, I mean, some of you are nodding, you know, it means that there is only one truth. Ekam Sat. Vipra Bahuda Vadanti means sages call it by different names. Allah, Ishwar, God, whatever you want to call it. Nirvana, Ekam Sat, Vipra Bahuda Vadanti. They had that concept back then. Second thing he says, Ano Bhadra Yantu Vishwataha. No, Ano Bhadra, I'm trying to remember. Ano Bhadra Kritava Yantu Vishwataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from all directions. So, you know, sometimes there is a thing, no, this is a Western thought. So I asked them, there was a German Jew who came up with the theory of relativity. Do you believe in it? They don't know what to answer. I said, you are going to reject it because it's a German Jew and did not come from the Vedas? Let noble thoughts come true from that, we have to accept. Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishwataha. And finally, I have to quote one of my favorites, which is Vivekananda. So Vivekananda says that when he was preaching Vedanta, and somebody asked him, so you want to convert the whole world to Vedanta? He said, God forbid. And this is what he says. I just quote you. He says the end of this religious development seems to be therefore not destruction but a multiplication of religions or sects, sects, until each individual is a sect unto himself. Each one, we follow our own individual religions. He is not saying convert everybody to Vedanta. We have to, so that broadness of mind where we, and you know, when we were children, so I often ask our students, who is the best mother in the world? I'll tell you, my mother. Everybody thinks that his or her mother was the best mother in the world. But when I go out and play as a child, do I hate other people's mother? Auntie, Peddamma, Chinnamma, Pinnamma, whatever you call it, we also respect, we like, but of course my mother is special. Which is the best mother tongue in the world? My mother tongue. Because it's the sweetest, best language in the world is my mother tongue. Same way, everybody thinks that his or her mother tongue is the sweetest language, his or her mother is the best mother. Religion is like our mother tongue and like our mother. It is so deeply ingrained in us. Yes, our religion is the best for us, but we also respect other religions. There is no other way. Like all time we said, if we have to live in peace, we have to have a harmony of religions, we have to respect all religions. And the essence of it goes back to the sacred texts and the prophets and the revelations they got. If you read the revelation, say, "Arey, sab log wahi to bol rahe." Everybody is saying the same thing, there is no difference. So once we understand that, whether there will be world peace or not, there will be peace in our own mind. I'll tell you one story before I close. The same book discussion was happening in Delhi, but we had a panel. One of the panelists was a Muslim lady who was a scholar of Islam, and she was from Kerala. So she told me, she didn't say it in public, but she told me, मैं सब कुछ public में बोलता हूँ. She said, you know, in Kerala, some people asked me, why do you worship Akbar? She said, what do you mean? So you say Allahu Akbar. Now this is, so we have strange notions about other religion. Ki Allahu Akbar means Allah is Akbar, you are saying. She says, no, Akbar means great. Allah is great. Itna bhi nahi malum humko. So we have fantastic notions about other religions. Very weird. By the way, Muslims also have fantastic notions about Hinduism. I'm not saying that we alone are wrong. best way is to understand what the religion is from the point of view of that religion. So I think I'm getting a little carried away, so let me stop here. Thank you so much.
This amount of reading, I don't think many of us here could emulate the amount of reading you've done and distilled, across religions.
Passion and interest, nothing.
Yeah,
anybody can do it. If you have interest, anybody can do this.
Well, you can be passionate about cricket but still not know enough about cricket. So you have translated passion into actual work, as it was say. I'm sure there'll be a lot of discussion, and I hope you have time for that.
I would also look for suggestions on, if once we understand, what do? We have to solve a problem in our own country first. If you have suggestions, please tell us that also.
That means revelations are God's pronouncements.
Yes.
But I gave a reading of Vedas translation by Rangacharya. They are hymns addressed to gods like Indra, Varuna. So how can it be revelation?
Okay, very good question. I don't want to get in too much into Hinduism, but since you have comes, that's why that Sahasra Sirsha Purusaha Sahasraksha Sarakshapa is 1,000. So that Ekam Sat means God is, an aspect of God is coming out through Indra, Varuna, Agni, etc.
Religions, you have mentioned that there are some fundamental aspects like how Vedas are a Shruti, revelation is common to many religions.
No, all religions, without exception, I'm telling you.
All religions.
No religion says that all religions say we are based on revelation.
So, my question is when some religions question the very fundamental revelation of other religions. For example, Buddhism rejects the authority of Vedas as Shruti. According to Buddha, Vedas were wise teachings from learned men, not divine revelations. So when one religion questions the very revelation of another religion, how can there be harmony?
There are two aspects. They call it Karma Kanda and Gnana Kanda. The Karma Kanda are the rituals. The Gnana Kanda is basically the Upanishads. So his criticism, to the best of my understanding, is about the rituals. So there is a famous incident. He goes somewhere and they are sacrificing a goat, and the goat is struggling. And the king, I think it is Bimbisara, he tells him that, why are you sacrificing the goat? He says, I will get punyam, merit. Then he says, the goat is not willing, I am willing, why don't you sacrifice me? So he is against that. But you read the Buddha Vachana, which is in the Sutra Pitaka, the word Brahmana is used again and again and again. He is supposed to be anti-caste. Why is he using the word Brahmana? Then you see, at that time the Brahmana was not the person whose father was a Brahmana. Brahmana was the person who tells the truth, who is calm, who is not indulgent in sensual pleasures, who is a scholar, who has got ethical values. He is the Brahmana. So he says he is the Brahmana, he is the Muni, he is the one who is fit for Nirvana. So he doesn't say like that. That is a wrong understanding.
Gamut of issues.
Chadhavan sir, please read it.
I will, sir, certainly. And Mr. Vikram, also big thanks to you, sir. My question was about the four aspects of religion that you mentioned in the earlier. Yes. Revelation, philosophy, mythology, ritual, and actual practical teachings. Yes. So it seems to be going from the subtle to the gross, a bit like the Panchatattvas from the Akasha. I am generalizing, I'm just telling it. And philosophy is very clearly the intellectual part coming in.
Correct.
So this is a personal question, and it has to do specifically with the revelation. When you were conducting your study of these religions, and you said without exception, revelation is a part of all of them, did you at some time feel that this revelation is really the subconscious coming through after a lot of cogitation? Use the word when you describe the Upanishadic teachings. I think Mr. Arun Shaurya had also written a book on, incidentally, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Ramana Maharshi, where he says that this perhaps could be the subconscious coming. If someone has a very strong moral compass of what is right and wrong, is generally non-violent, etc., and goes through this cogitations, has learnings, etc., do you think the revelation part of it, again I'm using subtle to gross, is the subconscious really coming out, sir? Thank you.
Worry about what I say or what Arun Shaurya says. Why don't you make up your own mind on what a revelation is? But since you have taken the trouble to ask, it is not subconscious, it is superconscious. They say avang manasa gocharam, beyond mind and beyond thought. What is God? Anirvachaniya parama prema swarupa, means it is indescribable. That is my belief. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree with Arun Shaurya. You make up your own mind whether it is subconscious or superconscious. It's your choice. I believe what the scriptures say. Personally, I believe it, but I actually think that these people had divine revelations. Otherwise, for 3,000 years, we're saying this. I mean, we are still following what Krishna said. There is the power is there behind his words. There is some force. That is what I believe. You don't have to believe it. Since you are asking my opinion, I am telling you.
Is there a scope for criticism and self-criticism within the religions? And if you have found out in your research, can you just illustrate? The other one is, so in the advent of this rapid technological innovations and social change, what would be the evolution of the religion? Thank you.
That is a question. None of the texts I have read says that you should not criticize. It is the later self-appointed custodians of various religions, whether there is the Brahmins or the Mullahs or the priests or various people who say that. So, for example, in Islam, there was a big debate. Islam saw big flowering after the Quran, because first thing is, to be able to recite the Quran, you have to read and write. Many people were illiterate, so they actually learned how to read and write through and because of that education, that whole region, lot of science, mathematics, philosophy, many things came there. During that time, there were all these debates what you are talking about. So one group which was very orthodox, they said that Quran is the word of Allah. You don't even have to understand, you don't have to question, just follow. Another group said no. We have to apply our mind, we have to apply our reason, we have to understand, and so on and so forth. So these debates are there in other religions, but nowhere does the Quran say that you have to criticize or not criticize. Nowhere in any religion says. The custodians of this thing, for whatever interest they have, they bar any, whether you call it criticism, questioning, etc. So don't go by that. Go, as they say, if you want to understand Christianity, go back to Christ. Go back to the original teachings. About how religion will be reformed. I don't know, sir. That's too big. But in Hinduism, say dharmo rakshati rakshitaha. You follow the dharma, it will protect you. We are trying to reform. First, we understand and follow ourselves. That's each one of us. That's good enough.
Two parts. One, I keep hearing that Quran or Allah says that you kill 100 Hindus and you will be honored in heaven with lot of, all joys of the world will be given to you, and then it's an endless life to you. So I don't know whether it is true or not. Second is, what is this kind of hatred the Islamic religion people, followers have on Hindus, and how do we go about telling them, how do we all live together peacefully, because no Hindu would definitely go and aggressive and then violent and talk like this. So I just wanted to understand that religion.
Of this religion, it is nowhere in the Quran it says. The word Hindu doesn't come in the Quran. You please read it. Ekkada cheppaledu. Hindulni poi champalani ekkada rayaledu. There is nowhere in the Quran it is written. So this is some notion we have about that. And how do Hindus and Muslims live together peacefully? That is what we have to collectively work out as a society. And I will tell you one thing, sir. You are a good friend. It is not only that that religion hates us. Many of the Hindus also hate Islam. Let us be bold enough to accept that. This is not going to solve the problem. This is not going to solve the problem. Suspicion, fear, anxiety. That's why the book is written. మనము ఇస్లాం ఏమంటుంది, ఈ బుక్ నచ్చకపోతే మీరు ఖురానే చదవండి, మీకు అర్థమైపోతుంది. వాట్ ఈస్ దట్? జస్ట్ రీడ్. Just read it. If you have this doubt, just read it. Let us understand it. I'll tell you one Christian priest, since he raised this question, I want to mention it. I had a colleague, whatever his name was, he trained to be a Catholic priest. Then after some time he left and he became a householder, he became a professor, and he is now retired. So during that period he was being trained as a Jesuit. They have to study not only Christianity but they have to study Islam, Hinduism, etc. So he was saying jokingly that why is Hinduism so violent? I said, Arjuna says, I don't want to fight. I don't want to kill my brothers. I don't want to kill my guru. I don't want to kill my uncles. I don't want to kill my grandfather. Even if I win, what will I enjoy after killing all these people? Oh Krishna, I don't want to. And Krishna says, no, fight. Go and kill them. Rama avatar you take from the time he is 16 till Ravana Vadham. He is going on killing Rakshasas. One after the other is killing Rakshasas. Parashurama avatar was to kill all the Kshatriyas, and apparently he killed all the Kshatriyas. Narsimha avatar was to kill Hiranyakashyapa. Varaha avatar was to kill Hiranyaksha. And all the Puranic Devis, Kali is killing Mahishasura Mardini. So then if you say, no, that is not the right understanding. Hinduism, no, we have to understand it properly. Why don't we understand other religion properly? We don't understand that other people think that Hinduism is a very violent religion. నేను చెప్పాను, మన అవతార పురుషులు అవతారం ఎత్తిందే చంపడానికి. Today my friend was saying, Kamsa Chanura Vardhanam. Vasudeva Kusudam Devam Kamsa Chanura Vardhanam. దేవకి పరమానందం కృష్ణం వందే జగద్గురు. అది ఎందుకంటే వాడు కంసుడిని చంపినాడనే. So sir, then we understand that religion from their perspective. Manadi correct, valladi wrong అనుకుంటే they will definitely think that we are a violent religion.
No, I am not saying they are wrong. I am saying how do we...
So we have first to understand, first we remove the doubt from our own mind that Islam is saying that kill 100. It doesn't say. అది మనం చదివితే మనకు తెలుస్తుంది. అందుకే this discussion is required. We have to first understand our own religion and other religion. That is my request. Sorry.
Of history.
Yes.
Christianity might look like a
even
very nice.
Buddhism, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Every religion has a violent streak, and even if there is not a violent streak, there is an extreme.
Can I intervene for half a minute?
Yes, sir.
We blame it on religion. Whether it is true or not, that's up to you. We all have violence. Even Hitler was not religious. Look at what he did. Anyway.
My question was, religion in itself is a little left for interpretation. Like you said, Hinduism, there's a lot of violent stories. If we don't go to the root of it, we don't understand it well. I guess somebody is misinterpreting religion, and they've done it throughout history. How is it that we can correct it, and especially with regards to Hinduism? Because as a proud Hindu, I see over the last few years radicalization of Hinduism, and some of these texts could lead to furthermore radicalization as well.
So ban this book then, if you think it is. I think it is trying to go in the opposite direction, not radicalization.
No sir, I'm saying general. I'm not saying your book. I'm saying in general it could result in misinterpretation.
No.
How as a society, not your book sir, I'm saying in general, how as a society can we continue to do exactly what you said, is respect other religions, understand them better, and not misinterpret our own teachings?
I wish I knew. That's why I started my talk by saying I want suggestions that we have. See, if we don't live together, we will definitely hang separately, and there is no planet B. We have to live here only. So you also have to read and talk, not only me.
So my question is, some religions, they promote violence to restore dharma, and that interpretation is left out open. So what is your insight on that and its relevance in contemporary times?
See, again, violence, you please read about that religion. We have many notions. I told you, they're saying, why do you worship Akbar? Because you are shouting Allahu Akbar. Arey bhai, we are not worshipping. So we have strange notions about religions. First, then chadivite, then you will, some of these doubts will get cleared. While I am telling you, it's not, why do you want to give my opinion? Either you read this book or you go back and read that religion, whatever it is. Now in internet, all the religious texts are available freely downloadable.
You read it and you make up your own mind whether it is propagating violence or not. I will tell you one thing. I will again on this question, I will quote one of my favorites, Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Ramakrishna says, and he's talking about Hinduism, he's not talking about other religions, although he does talk here and there, but about Hinduism says, all scriptures are like sugar mixed with sand. No scripture is perfect. He's talking about Hindu scriptures. However proud we are, Ramakrishna is saying, our job is to take the sugar, which means the essence of the religion. One of my teachers, he was a monk in the Ramakrishna mission in the 30s, and his guru was a disciple of Ramakrishna. And he says that they were all brahmacharis and they were talking, and they were criticizing some other religion. So the guru came and he asked them, what are you saying? He said, have you read the Quran? He said, you read the Quran. Whatever you like, you underline it. When you go to a mango orchard, you pick the best fruits and you eat them. Due to wind and storm, some mangoes will fall down, they will be worm-eaten and they will be rotten. Don't worry about it. Such things are there in all religions. You ask a Ambedkarite or a feminist to read the Gita, they will just blast it. He says, even a woman, Krishna says, even, why do you have to say, even a woman is fit to know the truth? Why do you have to say that? Why is it treating like that? And we have some comments here and there. So, we have to take the essence of it. See, don't look for red flags and catch that. There are many interpolations in every scripture. People have added something for thousands of years, but there is an essential thought. When you read about other religions, what is that essential thought you get? Don't look for Iti Sarla, Atsarla. If I examine your life from the time you are born till now, I will find 100 faults with you. And with me also, maybe 1000. Adhiga nahi hai. What is essentially what you are? Adi artham jesko. So please, you first solve it for yourself. Forget about solving. First you clear up your own misconceptions. Then you join us. We will go around the country and start talking to people. Don't go with half-baked knowledge. Sorry to use that word.
So thank you for the talk, sir. During Rigveda times, there is this Varna classification hasn't been that much. But with the next Vedas coming, the Varna classification improved more. Even Vyasa, who wrote Mahabharata, mentions that Veda shouldn't be heard by the Shudras. Like, is this classification?
No, Veda, Vyasa doesn't. It is Manu who says that.
Even in Mahabharata,
let me just finish. Since you talked about Vyasa, Guru Purnima is in honor of Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasa was the illegitimate son of a fisherwoman born out of wedlock. He is the Guru. Now you tell me what caste Veda Vyasa is from. He is the Guru. And Veda Vyasa later on, when Satyavati's sons die, she wants an heir. Chitrangada and I forget his other name. When they die, she finally asked Bhishma that according to the tradition of those times, you father children to the widows of your dead brothers. Bhishma says, I have taken a vow of celibacy. Then she revealed that Veda Vyasa was my son. So not only is he a legitimate son, he comes and he fathers the children through the dead wives of his brothers, half brothers, because Satyavati was mother of them and who were those children? Dhritarashtra and Pandu. Dhritarashtra and Pandu's father is Vedavyasa. What caste, what marriage, what are we talking about?
I'm just
openly written there.
I'm quoting from Mahabharata, sir.
In Mahabharata mujhe naftuna nahi hai.
In that it is written that like
Mahabharata, it is written in the Manusmriti.
Okay, I'm referring from Oriental translation of Mahabharata, sir. Okay, sir. However, but do you think this is a later addition by human intervention or because Mahabharata is directly come from God? Like, what is your opinion on this, sir?
See, that's what
I'm just quoting from the source.
Same thing. You show me, you send me the email. I want to see.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. What is the essence of it? See, if what do you want to get out of the Mahabharata, it's up to you. If you want to pick one phrase here, one phrase there, one phrase there, and say that this is what it is, it's your choice, up to you. But look at the essence of the Mahabharata, look at the essence. I'm telling you, this is a fact, what I'm saying publicly about Vedavyasa, nobody can challenge me, including the proudest of Hindus, because it is written there. He is the son, illegitimate son of a fisherwoman born out of wedlock. And he fathered 2 children, in fact the third one also, from the dead wives of his half-brothers, who are Dhritarashtra and Pandu. What caste, what religion, what dharma, what is it called? That is dharma of those days, you can call it. Fine. And Guru Pirmalo, I am a Guru anime. That's what it is. Yeah.
So that migrants were there during those times. During those times also when the Homo sapiens tried to persecute them wherever they traveled from across the globe. So, and it has been happening ever since and even in current times as well. So I would want to know your take on it.
So I tell you, just look at the numbers. I was just looking at it. You can now Google. The population is 1.4 billion. There are 1 billion migrants, internal and external in the world. There are more migrants today in the world than the entire population of the world. Therefore, the situation has changed. There is much more contact and friction, and with this uncertainty over 101 things, everybody is stressed out. In America, they are saying loneliness is a growing industry. You can make a business out of loneliness. So you create AI or dummy girlfriends and boyfriends, and you can chat with them, all that kind of stuff. This is the stress we are going through. In that stressful time, this migration causes further stress. Like, so and so we can say 100 people you kill. And the year one, we have all kinds of weird notions.
Yeah, I intervene Veda, where there are self-criticisms and questioning many ideas of the Veda itself. It makes delightful reading. So I can point you out to one or two. But I have a question for you, sir. You know, the earlier civilizations of Egyptian civilization, or maybe a little later Mayan and Aztec civilization, they also had their own religions, if I can say that.
Yes.
Why that they're not enduring? Is it because they didn't have the 4 tenets which you were talking about, or is it because
that firstly they didn't have a book? So Vivekananda says all religions which have survived the test of time without exception have a book or a set of books. So we don't find any written religious texts of these Aztec and Mayan and Egyptian civilization, we don't find. My personal view, for which I am willing to be hanged, is that we don't see this evidence of what I still believe in, which is the divine revelation or the sort of the knowledge that you get beyond the mind and the senses. Yeah. We don't find evidence from those civilizations. And of time, all of those. But there is no book, there is no written book.
Namaste, Sastry. Very kind of you for the knowledgeable and informative talk. As you rightly said, I think the finest mind speaks from the heart. My question is, when all the religions give the code of conduct, every religion has its own code of conduct, when we don't follow that, in moving ahead, why don't we confine our religions to our homes? Once we come out, all of us should be the same. Everybody should be equal. So, is there any possibility that we can confine our religions to our homes, and once we come out, we are all equal?
We tried a secular state, and we will separate. Religion is private, we will not discuss it in public, and publicly only we discuss secular thing, and privately we discuss religion. But in this WhatsApp age, I don't see it happening. And one of the persons who may not have agreed with you, I'm not talking about politics, I'm talking about society, is Karmika Kendra. Every day he sang bhajans. He openly sang Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram. He is the first person in modern India to use the word Ram Rajya. Not these people today. He said, nobody called him communal, nobody, even I've talked to Muslims and Christians, they don't have any problem with Gandhi. True religion, there is no problem. You cannot put it back into a box and suppress it because people want God. Whether you may not want God, that's your choice. But majority of people are not like that. What's the thing?
What? Because of the multiplicity of religions, apart from the freedom that they have allowed us to follow any path that we've chosen. On the contrary, do you think we would have lost something if we had only one religion from the ancient times till today?
That's why I ended my talk with Vivekananda. Each person has a religion for himself or herself. Because each one of us has a different mind. We think about these issues. We think that God is useless, God has created trouble, religion has created violence, one set of people. Then I am a Hindu, Muslim, etc. Even among Hindus there are so many. So each one of us has a different mind. So when we are looking for peace or fulfillment or God or whatever we are looking for, Vivekananda is saying that we should have as many religions as each person, not somebody coming and telling you. We ourselves create our own religion. That's what he's saying. So there is no religion is not going to happen for civil future.
Just to clarify, when all religions...
Very provocative lecture. I just wanted to know why you didn't use the word spiritualism, spirituality, when you talked about revelations. Why was it an extension of religion and not as spirituality?
By mistake. I started our own religion. That's what he's saying. So there is no religion is not going to happen for civil future.
Things here, and then my question.
Make it brief, sir. I have to
Sure. The term Islam itself is derived from the Arabic root seen lam mim, which encompasses meanings of peace, submission, and safety. And there's a verse in Quran, Surah 5th and 32 verse, which says if you kill one person, it is as if you killed all of humanity. Yes. And whoever saves a life, it will be as if they saved all of humanity. Correct. And I will quickly go through one verse which encompasses the text we are having here. It is from Quran, Surah 25 and 63rd verse. It says, وَإِبَادُ الرَّحْمَانِ أَرَادِينِ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ حَوْنَا وَإِذَا قَاطَبُهُمُ الْجَاهِلُونَ قَالُوا سَلَامًا. Which means, the servants of the Most Merciful are those who walk upon the earth humbly, and when the ignorant address them harshly, they say words of peace. So this verse underscores the importance of humility and peaceful conduct, even when confronted with ignorance or hostility. So the question in this context of today's socio-political climate and the questions that have been arising, I'd like to ask, considering the Quranic emphasis on peace and humanity, how can these teachings be effectively communicated to counteract divisive political narratives in India that seek to exploit religious differences?
You see,
and your personal anecdote on it. Thank you.
It means say surrender to God. Now, your point about how do we correct this, you see, let me tell you one secret. Every religion thinks that others misunderstand it. Okay? It is our duty as part of our religion to correct it. But there is another duty. That is, if there are flaws in our own religion, there are flaws in Hinduism, if there are flaws in Islam, there are flaws in Christianity, due to whatever reason, historical reason, somebody misinterpreting, it is our duty to correct it. I'll tell you, I got an email from some group which says Soul of Islam, yesterday or day before, and some Muslim women had written that, I read it. And they use the word Tahweez. I don't know exactly if they translate it.
Tawheed.
No, Tawheed. Tawheed.
Yes.
And their interpretation of it is that everybody is equal under Allah, and this way of discriminating against women is against the Quran. Okay? Now they are trying to correct that within being Muslim women, we are trying to correct it from inside there. We have to do that. Then, because if you read the Sharia, they will say the evidence of a woman is equal to half of a man. It's not written in the Quran, but that's what the practice is. That is what if there are flaws in the practice, I don't blame the Prophet or the Quran. I blame the followers that they are not correcting. Like that, we can go on saying there are flaws in every religion. We have to correct it. In Hinduism, the big flaw is the caste system. It has ruined my religion. I weep privately that what are we doing to our own people in the name of caste? We have to correct it. It is the Hindus' responsibility. If there are flaws in your religion, you have to solve it. That's the only way. You can't say, I'm going to correct others' opinions on me. First you correct yourself.
Yeah. The topic which is discussed, but I want to have a clarity on a documentary which is given by Government of India on Jesus in Kashmir. How far it is true?
I don't have any opinion. I am aware it originated from India. India is the greatest civilization mankind has ever done, and Jesus could not have become great but for coming to India. So take your pick. What I have read in the history is that even before Jesus, there were the Essentials, the desert far. Like we go to Himalayas, they used to go into the desert, like tapasvis, and do tapasya. And Jesus also went into the desert for 40 days. After Jesus, they became what they call the desert fathers. There was a big, strong monastic tradition in those regions of renouncing the world. Manam tyaga antaru, sannyasi, anni vadalesi, ekkanno adavi lekunte edari. Whatever, you go to the desert instead of going to the forest and do tapasya for God. My personal opinion is that Jesus must have done that. But you don't have to agree with me. Why should God only reveal himself in India? We are narrowing God. If I was God, I would love the Africans, the Chinese, the Muslims, the Christians, the Hindus, the Brahmins, the women, the Dalits. I would love all of them. In fact, I would love those people who are discriminated even more. That is my concept of God. God, what a limit, you are limiting God. It's a stupid idea.
I was surprised if that is coming from a Government of India government.
Government of India, sir, such a great institution.
Sir, I had a question. One, we were talking about some sacrifice in rituals and all that. So I read somewhere, I believe it is within the context of Gita, that it has been identified that there were meat eaters, definitely. And then before you kill the animal and eat the meat, you use this as a pious, ethic way of sacrificing. Essentially, you give it to the god. Naivedyam. Yeah, you give it to the god and then, pray for the animal that is dying, and then create some blissfulness there. So it's just one thought basically. So it is well misunderstood in my opinion. The other thing is your very question, like what do we do next? Again, I don't have an answer, but to me it appears the religion is made too complex. There's just so many variations, so many thoughts, so much, it has become outdated. We have to figure a way to make religion simple. And how do you make that, reduce it, make it in simpler words, pass it through the proper media.
You go to some of the mutts and they do good.
Yes.
Just 4 words. Like
exactly.
Everybody understands this.
All this is. So, I think leaders like you, the stalwarts like you should, book reading is good for all the adults, Kids are not reading, We need to identify ways to communicate to them because the next generation is the one that actually starts changing the world again.
Many people are doing
there are ways to do that again, simplified, easily communicated through proper channel.
If you go to Gomalagoda, there is a mission called the Ramakrishna Mission. They bring out books. Thus spake Zarathustra, thus spake Muhammad, thus spake the Buddha, thus spake Krishna. Small books for children. So many books of
those things, we have
children to read them.
Exactly, we need to find ways.